Hi. Okay, let's have a good chat about a number of topics. But first thing, I have to say thank you, Brian Nolan, my first supporter on Buy Me a Coffee. High five. Thank you very much. And you bring up an interesting topic which we're going to talk about. But before we do so, I just want to point out, see that table behind me, which is sort of the balsa, not storage, working area, like anything that isn't directly on here gets put on there temporarily so that this doesn't get so cluttered. So thank goodness that's cleared up for the most part. But that big table that I put over there to supposedly clean up garage area doesn't really do that. All it does is change stuff from being on the floor to being on a table. Actually, all it does is clutter things more, having that extra table. Needs to be an open workspace. That's what it really needs to be. So just putting more models from the room on the table doesn't solve anything. But inside, very good. Almost feels a little bit surreal having a whole table. Although, the one thing, so you know those green cutting mats which most modelers use? I got a biggish one. It's about double this size, double A4. But as soon as I put it on the table, it makes the table look so small. So technically it's open space, but it starts breaking up the working area into such small parts. And I don't actually cut on the thing. If I need to cut a piece of plastic, I'll take a separate little board or something and just work it and then put it back, because I'm really not cutting often on there. So I think I might take that green mat off. It just, I love the feeling of that open white workspace. And typical to my fashion, almost immediately I was looking at a few decals for something, and I was looking at a model or two, and instantly I've just crowded the table. Very easy to clean up, which I have done, but it is so easy to just change a nice open workspace into a cluttered area. So that's one of the things, is when having looked at something, right, it must get off the table. Oh, in fact, I was looking at these decals. So this is a set for Tiger Moth, actually a very nice set with a whole bunch of schemes. And as you know, I do like my Tiger Moths, and I have more than 4, but let's say 2 new ones, 2 old ones, maybe even 3 old ones. So I've already started cutting up. Very, very good quality. Now those ones right there, I might use one of those schemes. But what I did want to pilfer is this one. And the reason I'm pilfering that is for a Harvard. I was looking at those Harvards which will soon be coming up for final painting and decals, and I didn't really have a plan, so I'm just looking at options, and that can work. And I'm not hypercritical about it being an exact scheme. So just something that looks interesting and different. There probably was something very close to that anyway. I think that's Rhodesia. And this one, which I've pilfered, and that will go on a Tiger Moth. I'm hoping that those tail decals can sort of conform nicely to the tail shape. The one thing about those sort of tail decals is, though, right at the very edge, all around where it sort of becomes the trailing edge of the rudder, you've got to be careful not to have a little bit of the carrier film sticking over, and very easy to rub that up again off with your finger. So I've got to seat them very nicely, but I do like that one. I've got a whole variety, more than 10 schemes. And this is not one that I bought. There's some more. This is not one that I bought for the Tiger Moth. It just happened to be up for grabs at the club meet for some reasonable amount. And I do want to do a couple of tiger moths in slightly different colorations, like the silver and the yellow is a little bit different. That sort of green is also not a bad one. So we'll see when I get to tiger moths. And if you'll remember, I was saying that while I build a couple of tiger moths in the manner of a nostalgia build, minimalist, maybe painted, but not putting in that much effort, I do need to do one or two tiger moths that are actually quite nice looking. No, I wouldn't call it, you know, a severe build, but you know, something just obviously with a bit of attention given to it. And this, you know, I've got these odd little sets that as they also come from club meetings where people have decided not to build the kit that they then collected this for when they become available. And this is a Mustang, and I do like Mustangs, and I think that'll look quite nice in a Mustang build. It's not too much of a photo etch challenge. You know, those are not the tiniest of parts. There are some small parts, but there's a lot of big parts, and I think that's something I could do, since I honestly can't tell you when, if ever, I have done a set like that on a model plane. I've used bits here and there, but not an actual whole set, so that could be quite good. This, oh, okay, so this is the one did I do this last year? Can't remember exactly when I did that. Now, so looking at the Churchill, which must be in a very similar style to that, but I want to improve upon it a bit. So that sort of look that I've got there, which was, you know, it's fast build, it's got weathering, but it's not a complicated scheme. You know, it's something that you can achieve the final spray and the weathering in 1 or 2 nights and all done, finished. The Churchill needs to be a little bit better than that. Oh, there's the back. But without wasting tons, so probably more focus on color scheme and weathering. You know, all of these springs, I'm not going to take off the seam line off the edges of all of that. It is still meant to be a partial nostalgia build, since this is one of those that I built long ago, but not building it without painting it and giving it attention. This one must be sort of medium level, because remember, I've got that other better one. So it's, you know, there's these kits in my build history: Tiger Moth, Churchill. There's dotted here and there, there's these kits that I will build again. Sometimes maybe only twice, sometimes 3 times. I mean, the Tiger Moth happens to be an example where even 4 or 5 times hasn't worn me out. I can't say I'd want to do another Churchill, of another Airfix Churchill in a hurry, so that would make it only my second one, this one. Harvard's is different, that I'll build many. This will be the second one, I'll get to that now. So, you know, there's these topics which just spur us on to build another one and improve upon it, and build another one and improve upon it. And I am looking forward to this. Partially, I guess, because it puts me in that mindset back to 1981, 82, probably 81 when I built that one. Hand painted badly after the fact. But it was one of the first tanks that I ever built. So, you know, somewhat memorable, and I am looking forward to this. While I've got this here, do you remember these little matchbox planes? There was like only a few of these metal planes. I don't know how many all in all, maybe 8 all in all, but you know, on occasion you'd see someone with a couple of these, 1 or 2. Some of them were a bit better than others. This one I got recently. It's not from my own past. I didn't have one of these specifically. I did have the Cessna, but quite a cool little metal plane. Oh, this was some of the that's the one I had. Not exactly that one. This one's a bit of an older example that I got. But there was also there's some of the jets. Don't quite know what I'm going to do with these, but for now they're interesting to have there. Oh, and I haven't forgotten about doing a special edition on the card packs, but I need to get them all together. This is still something that I love, and some of these card packs really take me back to 70s and 80s. And this specific one was one of those that we played so much. And this is the smaller one, the smaller pack. I've got a lot of the bigger ones, but that I can't remember which year I bought this, but it could be 78. So that episode, special episode just on the card packs. And I think I have some very rare card packs, which if one was in the market of selling them, I bet a collector would actually pay something for them. This, which I have spoken about, and I think I've got 2 of these now, because I actually found the other one that I had in the stash in a packeted out of its box. This was one of those that I built shortly after obtaining reasonable paints, which means it actually got painted in a color pretty close to the box, which would make it 1983-84. But I'd like to do I don't have that one. I don't know where that went. So I want to do a very nice one of that, and not difficult, pretty simple. So it's worth taking a little time and doing the color scheme nicely. And that's the same as this one. Now this one I never did build, but as I said to you, there's not a whole lot of these interesting French aircraft to choose from. So, you know, more than the simplest of kits, certainly a whole lot more than the Tiger Moth. A very nice molding. They even have a very scale looking fabric effect. There's a texture to the cowlings, which is not scale because it's actually a very polished, but it doesn't matter as far as an interesting model goes. That's not bad. So that'll be you know, a nice little French Moraine Saulnier MS225. $45 pieces, number 216 and number 224. This one I like the Sky Raider a lot, and I've got about 4 Sky Raiders, but this one has sort of gone to the back burner a little bit, but I haven't lost interest. I think it's more a case of I just do like older and war aircraft more than, well, not that this is not war, but I'm a bit less into Vietnam than the 1940s and earlier. This, you know, that will actually be a very nice build. I wonder what this comes from, or if this was just a fresh mold from them. Anyway, very nice looking, and it's the 4-seater. Actually, maybe I should not tuck it too far away. I do remember it was, I was quite happy to find this little one. And the Decals, do we have Decals for this? Okay, right there, again a bit of blindness on the brain. Actually not bad. That is a nice set. So I think this one is worth doing. It's 2006. It's worth not packing away till the end of time. So actually I might take that back in and have a good look at that one. That one that one I mentioned, but I haven't even unpacked this one. Not the best of decal sets, and that may be too old for use. But before I get on to the last two kits there, the topic which Brian brought up and which I've been thinking about a bit is the workspace and small workspaces. And I think in one of the previous videos I'd spoken about my tool development and how much stuff was around. And if I think back to when I was building that Churchill, my first Churchill blank desk, there was I never had any modeling stuff out. It was on the odd occasion when I was going to sit and work on a model. And in fact, to be honest, prior to that, I didn't even have a desk. So it was more a case of just sitting somewhere in the house where you could work on the model for a little while without being disturbed. But now I had this desk space and the actual amount of tools. I mean, if someone had said, you know, well, here's a box for your tools, it's, oh, I don't need a box, only got like 4 items or something. You know, it was a little knife, file, tweezers, paintbrush. Extremely simple, and, you know, 4 paints. I didn't even keep turpentine in a little bottle by the side. I started with turpentine long before thinners. But that wasn't something I actually kept in the house. So the you know, the enjoyment level of the models that I was building at that time, just around that transition to the painting era, my painting era, because I was really enjoying my builds. It wasn't like I felt I was lacking something with those builds. Was a very minimal workspace. I mean, one box in the cupboard for a model that I'd just received, which was then going to be built. I never had a backlog of even 2 models. It was, you get a model, you build it. And the weird thing is that I had only a stash of about less than 10 built models by 1981. And that's because many of them got played to smithereens, I think. Because I'd obviously built, you know, a huge number of models between 1974 and 1980, but I only had 10 of them to show by 1981. And I have a photo of that somewhere. So when I eventually get this garage organized and actually find photos again, I can show you that. It was one of the few times that I actually laid out my models on the carpet and we took a photo, which I think was 1981, possibly 1980. And that didn't happen again or before for a long time. So there's very few photos of here's my model collection as a teen. And then of course you start collecting and cluttering and collecting and cluttering, and the real gain is a few tools. So I can, as I said, I could make a traveling box that does in fact fit into a little box like that, which just doesn't include paints and everything. I could reduce my paint collection on the table to one box of paints and a little bottle of thinners and so on, various things. But what I actually have now is a huge amount of, you know, these bottles of paint, those tins of paint, especially as people go out of modeling or out of modeling with a particular type of paint, a lot of stuff gets passed on. But essentially, I could reduce down to a fairly minimalist set of working goods, except for compressor. And I use the big compressor, so that's not even in the room. I go and sit in the sunroom, and face the door, face outwards. So I actually spray outwards, as you saw in earlier videos. I have got the little, I think it's over there, some of the little desk compressor, but I'm not really keen on that. I'd prefer just charge the tank with air, and then I don't have noise and I can just spray in peace. And the little hand drill, but that little hand Dremel thing is very small. So, you know, it is still quite possible to really be enjoying your model building on a very limited workspace. And even if you needed to pack it away, one of my friends doesn't want to leave his stuff out at all, so it's going to be in one of those fold away sections and just in a couple of drawers, which is, you know, not a bad way to go if you don't actually have a space where you can leave it open and it won't get bounced on by animals, cats, kids, etc., or be in the way of others in the house. And remember I said when I pack my essentials onto the desk, I've used up 1/3 of the space already. And this topic sort of addresses that. Well, actually there's just a bit too much stuff there. I need to clean up more. I want to have that feeling of all of that white space with just the essential tools, lamp, etc. So we'll see what I can do. The pictures I posted on the Facebook page are not bad. I think at that point there's sort of only a quarter of the workspace taken up by extras, but way better than it was. I mean, I was working on barely a little bit of space like that on the table to put things down on, because there's just parts everywhere. So good topic that you brought up there, Brian. My last two models for this session. Okay, I'll leave that one till last, but this one, I don't often take out some of these to show you because the boxes and that are so big, but this is, I've got the one inside which isn't finished. I've got this one, and I absolutely love the C130, and I have the 148th one. So this Italeri and Blue Angels. Now this I think I've got the decal set inside, yes. I do want to do this second one as well in 172, and that'll be the last 172 I do. It is not the fastest, but it's not the worst either. Now, the one issue you do have a little bit is this join on the curve there, where, as I have mentioned, many models have this. You're supposed to end with a perfect curvature, but what happens, the molding, can't say exactly why it occurs, but the lips of the mold of the edges droop a little bit. So when you've joined it and you've sanded off the initial little bit of ridge that you get, the little bit of plastic, you still don't have that perfect curvature. You've got this little bit of dip, and that can take a lot of filler. And remember, I have spoken about putting in little spaces, but it doesn't necessarily fix it if it's sort of embedded in the layer of plastic. Put a spacer into, actually, that's if the interior of the aircraft allows that, to push that up a little bit so that you have less. But this one I can see, you know, that's a sort of a thick plastic, and I can see that the slight dip right at that point is not really something that you're going to fix with pushing the edges up. Pushing the edges up with interior structure is often when you've got waviness in your join, meaning that at a section over there it sort of fits nicely, and then this side dips in to the point where you don't think you'd get it right with glue only, and over here the other side dips in, that sort of thing. So this one's not bad. I can't remember how much filler I had to do on the other one. And you've also got, annoyingly, some of these, and that's why I often take those off, little aerials and goodies on the upper surface, which stops you from being able to sand nice and evenly. And I don't like to try and sand around it. To me, you just make more trouble for yourself by sanding around and filling around aerials. It's almost better to just clip the aerial off. And if you really want to use that aerial, glue it on afterwards again, which does make it weaker, but I don't even need those aerials on. Very, very nice. Big, and of course the only places on the ceiling, but this one has got a little bit, it's got one piece glued. Single wing to fuselage. And I wouldn't call it a very busy kit, actually. It's, and especially if you're not going to do undercarriage, and in fact I think my other one I didn't do undercarriage, you know, a lot of it, oh sorry, that's the reason you're seeing black and white in here. I'll just show you that again. The reason you're seeing black and white in here is because I've put into this kit all of the leftover black parts from the other kit. So for instance, if we just take out the undercarriage stuff and ignore the other black parts, this becomes a way simpler kit. I'm not sure if I will do this one as well with undercarriage up, because it does simplify things a lot. And I can't put it down anywhere. There's no shelf space for this sort of size. I mean, you can hang it from the ceiling with undercarriage down, sure, but it looks just as nice with undercarriage up. I'll probably prefer to just do it undercarriage up. What the real challenge with this one is doing that very nice color scheme, and that's what I want to do. I just hope that the decals are okay for that. Doing Fat Albert. I like that, and that's a very nice blue, and you could do a very nice gold with that. Because I have done one, I'm not sure that I would really include this in my aircraft bucket list. I don't know if it's urgent enough to be in that, but it's certainly one of those aircraft I don't want to leave forever. Of the armor stuff that I have, and I have mentioned this one, I've got two, this one and the Tamiya one. The main reason that I like this one so much is just the very weird shape of it. So you're so used to sort of the shape of the conventional vehicles that this just really grabs me. This, I'll show you the parts now. Okay, so this one is simpler. It's just, you know, the underside is absolutely nothing. It's got that little piece to clean up. I mean, that is totally nice enough. That's very good. Got running gear. Decals are obviously very bad for this. When I say very bad, very simplistic, and that yellow is not supposed to be yellow, so that, you know, you could use them, but it's wrong. It's not great. I won't use those. What I might, well, I don't know, I don't particularly feel that I need to represent that one with the teeth, even though it might be interesting. I haven't decided on that. So it's, you know, it is a few parts. It's not a no part kit, but it's not a very complicated kit. Quite a lot of little handles, which are sort of just all over there. Very thin handles and stuff. Rubber tracks, which look perfectly fine to me, and the bracing, the join strength looks to be okay. So, you know, which is often the case with Academy, it's maybe not the most enticing box art or even impression that you first get, but it's a very nice kit. It's sort of, you know, a level below Tamiya, not just a little level, it is quite below Tamiya, and yet you can build a very, very nice model out of this, and I want to. So this one I have been sort of in my mind putting on the back burner for a long time. I can't say when we'll get to this, but if I was going to make a separate armor list, that would definitely be on it. But then again, I only have about just over 10. I thought I had just under 10, but I went and dug out a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, just a bit over 10. Because as nice as the tanks are, like this one, if you gave me the choice right now, I'd far more work on that LVTP, amphibious assault vehicle, than on this tank. And that's that probably comes down to the my actual bucket list, which has got quite a variety of different kits in there, and that's probably this thing that I have about wanting different shapes, keenness for getting away from just your standard shape, standard kit stuff. I like this mental challenge of a completely different part set or completely different look than the usual. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a chat for tonight. Happy modeling. Till next time.